tomorrow, then only there is a danger, real danger of AI dominating our thought process so much. We stop thinking critically, which is so human, private rankings, and don't go by that.
So
So
don't rank the colleges or universities, but just best five.
I would mention the Indian Institute of Mass Communication. IIMC is certainly there.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, particularly for those who are pursuing in Hindi, I would say the Makhanlal Chaturvedi University.
Okay.
For those pursuing in particularly in Hindi,
Okay.
good media houses look at the social media profiles of the candidates,
Okay.
and in fact, your chances of placement is better if you are a blogger, if you are a, whether it's a travel blog or a food blog or a sports blog, whatever. I mean, imagine Sudhir Chaudhary is, Doordarshan is paying him a whopping 16 crores per annum.
Hi everyone, welcome to TEDucate, your go-to podcast for exploring higher education like a pro. I'm your host Anvesha, and this week we have with us the former Director General of Indian Institute of Mass Communication, a senior journalist, a policy influencer, the former Vice Chancellor of Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, and now the Director of Indian Habitat Center. But to me, he's Sir. He is someone who taught me that commas can save reputation and headlines can save the world. Let's welcome Professor Dr. KG Suresh. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for accepting my request and welcome to my podcast. How do
Thank
you?
you. My pleasure.
So, I'll start with a very significant question. How does it feel to be part of a podcast which is being hosted by your favorite student?
Absolutely amazing, outstanding, awesome. uh, you see, I'm generally interviewed by many publications,
Yeah.
YouTube channels, particularly, and television channels.
Yes.
But I really feel, a sense of pride when my students come to interview me because, virtually we had taught them how to conduct interviews, and today they are interviewing top shots, and they considered me good enough to, take an interview. So it's a privilege also. And of course, good to see them, because I also get to learn a lot of how even the art of interviewing, the art of asking questions has changed over the years, not very straight jacketed
Yes. Yes.
used to be,
Yeah.
so certainly, yes, it's a learning for me also.
And thank you so much, sir. It's always an honor to interact with you. Okay, so this podcast is all about education. We've already discussed that. I want to address the challenges or the problems that students face, especially when it comes to higher education. So let's start with your education. How was your education while growing up? आप कैसे student थे? How were your teachers? And I'm taking you way back,
Okay.
but I
I
want.
belong to the, as you know, Anveshan, I belong to the old school.
Yeah.
So we were certainly, I won't call victims because that time we considered it pretty normal. We were subject to corporal punishment as it is now known as.
Hmm.
The kind of beatings we used to get from our teachers, even using cane, using scales, wooden scales, they used to beat us on our knuckles.
Yeah.
And we would never crib or complain about it to our parents. Rather, if we go and complain, they will give us two more slaps. I also, have a middle class upbringing where me and my sister used to get our clothes stitched from the same bundle of cloth,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
the father would buy, and it is used to be stitched a shirt for me and a frock for her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Even
so
in my childhood, same.
yeah, so we were, brought up like that, and we
Yeah.
had no tuitions, coaching, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And father used to be typically very,
Mm.
tough. Mother being the softer side, and so life was very different.
Yeah.
We were not that protective. Our parents were not that protective about. They were very particular. For example, even while I studied in a city like Delhi, my father was very particular about my being taught in my native Malayalam language. He was very particular that the culture, language, and today I see a lot of youngsters say an Odia who does not know Odia, or a Malayali who does not know Malayalam, how to write, or things like that. So our parents were very particular about these things.
True. सर आप फ्रंट बेंचर थे, बैक बेंचर थे, स्टूडियस थे, नॉन स्टूडियस थे? हाउ?
I was not at all studious till my 10th standard
ओके,
because I had problems both with mathematics and science.
ओके, ओके,
So only when I shifted to, so I was an average student till 10th standard.
ओके.
Uh, but once, I joined senior secondary, I started topping the class. So this is proof that a child should not be, a child really shines well when he is given the option of the subjects of his choice, his or her choice. And that matters in career also. But unfortunately, even today in this, what we call the enlightened age, we still see parents enforcing their dreams on their children.
यस.
Then you see these suicides happening, quota suicides and stuff like that, because
यस.
the children are not willing. They want to do something different. We have had films like Three Idiots dedicated to, these things. Even films like Munna Bhai and all that, where a dream of your own you have to pursue. But today, that way, I mean, as I said, that today there are many parents who let their children, but there are also many parents who are very rigid about they decide. I mean, that what subject, what stream the children should be taking, rather than the stream of the children's choice. And what it ends up is that after a few years in that line, then they shift gears. They
यस.
realize that I'm not cut out for this.
यस.
So in my senior secondary, I became a little, certainly much more serious in my studies. I used to be the topper in my school. And then language was certainly my strength, English language particularly.
Tell me, while you were growing up, it was obviously a very dynamic phase of the Indian history. Emergency, Indira Gandhi's return, and of course, Janata Party, that was also evolving. All these factors, did it impact your education? Like national movements, was there a discussion in your family? Or ये जब?
Well, my father used to be a voracious newspaper reader. It is
Okay,
from him that I got into this habit. In fact, this idea of becoming a journalist. My father wanted me to be a civil servant. He was a government officer. His dream was to see me as I being the only son. His dream was to, make me a civil service officer.
okay,
But I never wanted to be a civil servant. I always wanted to be a journalist. I am a journalist by choice. There are many people who become journalists because they did not get through the civil service. Many because, well, they did not get the job of their choice. For me, it was the only choice to be a journalist. And I got this habit of reading newspaper from my father only, who used to read from the headline to the print line. He was a voracious reader of newspaper, and I started writing letters to the editor. And then I used to see my name in print in the Hindustan Times, in the Times of India, and I used to contribute to small magazines, and my name used to appear, and that used to give me a kick. At that time, there was no television reporter, television anchor, things like that. And I still remember my neighbors, my relatives, my family friends saying that, "Arey, Suresh ka letter to chapa hua hai aaj." And I used to, feel on cloud nine that,
So I was asking कि आपके टाइम पे भी there used to be discussions about how the Indian history is being depicted in the history books. Like for example, अभी जैसे actor R Madhavan है, he spoke about how the South Indian history has not been spoken much in the history books of the country.
Hmm.
आपके टाइम पे ऐसे कोई discussions होता था history books को लेके, या they were like strictly adhere to whatever being factually spoken?
Honestly speaking, there was not much discussion in the intellectual sphere.
Okay.
With we used to accept what was, but there was always a feeling. I grew up in a Delhi where people were not even aware of the South, and
Hmm.
I grew up when in the 60s in Delhi. In the 70s in Delhi, and we were the initial migrants, so to say, and we used to feel a lot of discrimination.
Hmm.
At that time, we used to feel really bad, that how we are being treated. But then subsequently, when later migrants came, say from Northeast,
Hmm.
then we started seeing even they were treated, discriminated against, they were mistreated. So that was more due to lack of awareness. For
Hmm.
example, when India gained independence at that time, the British provinces were divided into, say, the Mumbai presidency, Bombay presidency, and the Madras presidency. So anybody who would come from Madras was up to the Malabar region of Kerala,
Hmm.
Travancore being an exception. And then the Bengal presidency, Bengal, Bombay, and so anybody coming from east was a Bengali to the North Indian. Even
Hmm.
Oriya was, they hardly knew anybody from Odisha. Bengali, you know.
Hmm. अभी
Anybody
भी सर,
coming from
अभी भी.
east is a
Yeah.
Bengali. Anybody coming from south is Madrasi,
Yeah.
you know. So though we had nothing to do with, even the language is different,
True.
even the culture is different. Now, except that we all wear dhoti. And I
Hmm.
think the dhoti is worn across North India also in different states, but their
Absolutely.
languages and cultures. So I used to tell even people that, how would a, Punjabi feel if he is called a Bihari. So that is the same thing when you call a Malayali as a Tamilian, as a Madrasi, you know.
Yes.
So those were phases when, but these issues used to come for discussion, but
Hmm.
not history per se. But yes, there was little, really very little awareness about, and even in the history books, the entire, say, I remember, whether it is ancient or medieval India, the
Hmm.
entire South was clubbed in one chapter,
Hmm. Hmm.
that. So in one chapter, they would talk about the Cholas and the Cheras and
Hmm.
that used to be the
Approach.
story. But
Yes.
so whereas every northern dynasty was discussed in detail, so
True.
that used to be the thing.
So you spoke about discrimination here, and I remember in one of your TEDx episodes, you have spoken about how you were bullied as a child and you were being called a Madrasi,
Yes,
right? Would you,
there are vivid memories that I have.
yes, would you like to share some experiences? Because
Well,
it's,
honestly speaking, the same Delhi gave me a lot,
Mhm, mhm,
subsequently as I grew up. But initial childhood, as I said, that there was very little understanding of Madrasi was seen as somebody who is an outsider, who has come to snatch away your jobs, and who is an inferior. And he was projected. You look at films like Padosan, you
mhm,
know so there, the way we speak today also, I when I address meetings, I tell that, even today the South Indians speak Hindi almost the same manner, with
right.
their accents.
Yes.
But I said that, can you speak one sentence in Tamil, Malayalam, or Telugu, or Kannada? If you can't speak, then you have no right to criticize the way we speak. At least we are speaking, you know
Absolutely.
so we don't. So that I said that, why can't you study German? You expect everyone in South to learn Hindi, but
Mhm.
you study German, you study French. But why no one among you is studying, Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam or Kannada? Why that's not there?
Mm.
Why?
Got it. But so here my follow-up question was, What advice would you have for students who are bullied or who are discriminated for speaking a different language, coming from a different culture?
Unfortunately, in this country, when we speak about minorities, we only talk about religious minorities.
Hmm.
We don't talk about linguistic minorities, you know.
Hmm.
Whereas world over, it is linguistic minorities that is spoken about. The Sinhala speaking Sri Lankans and the Tamil speaking Sri Lankans. You know, the
Hmm.
world over, the tendency when you talk about minorities, it is about the, but this is perhaps where we so much highlight the religious aspect.
Right.
Whereas the linguistic is more important. There can be a Malayali or an Odia who can be both Muslim, and but his language remains Malayalam or Odia.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So he is a linguistic minority above everything, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think that linguistic minority is not at all considered in our this thing. So
Okay.
linguistic minority we need to promote, protect, preserve. That is important. Uh,
Right. Right.
that think is so. I would say that those. You see, we have to talk about. We should not be looking at the fault lines. We are a nation.
Hmm.
We are one people. At the end of the day, our DNA is the same.
Right.
There are a lot of, we belong to the same culture. Of course, there is diversity, but the cultural traits everywhere are almost similar, you
Right.
know. But let us emphasize on the common elements, the things that bind us together,
Hmm.
rather than on the differences. Let's not focus on the differences. Let's focus on the unifying factors. That is the whole idea. Because divisive, one can always look for then the caste, the subcaste, the community, the sub-community, the region within the state. Everything can be used as a tool to divide.
Hmm.
But as a country, we should be looking at factors that unite us. We should move beyond, say, understanding South should be beyond idli dosai. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
it should not be just confined to idli dosa.
True.
There is a world beyond that. We have not moved beyond that.
Hmm.
Though there are today millions of people from north who are working down south, who have made Bangalore their home, who have made south the Hyderabad their home.
Right.
So that is there. But
Okay.
when I ask them that have you learned Telugu, have you learned Kannada, then they say नहीं नहीं वहाँ जरूरत नहीं है. So
Hmm.
uh, you know
Then they face a problem that we all are aware of. Okay, so when it comes to schools, parents, teachers, as much as they focus on exams and marks, they don't focus that much on soft skills like creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving attitude. Um, I want to know from your end, like how important are soft skills, especially when it comes to professional lives, and why schools need to focus more on that.
absolutely. You look at the West,
Right.
here also some experimental schools were there, like Aurobindo Ashram had a Mirambika school,
Hmm.
and some other experiments have been done here also.
Hmm.
In if you go to Ujjain, there is Sandipani Ashram.
Okay.
So there they are talked about the 64, art form, the 64 Kalaएं,
Mm,
which Lord Krishna is believed to have studied under Guru Sandipani. Everybody should know basics, basic plumbing, basic carpentry, basic cooking.
true.
I mean, are looking at the world like, oh, this is for girls, this is for boys, and this is not meant for us. Our children should be kept away from the kitchen. No, but let them be inside the kitchen. Let them go out, buy vegetables, go swim, drive, you know. They
Mm,
should be aware of we are not making our kids practical, pragmatic, you know. Let them play with it. In our, at least earlier, it was better, I think, because I still remember breaking down transistor radios and getting these, assembling kits from Chandni Chowk, and
mm,
we will assemble and put up a radio using soldering and all that we used to do, and I did not see my kids doing that. You know,
Yeah, we don't see that anymore. True.
you know.
True. Huh.
So
Yeah.
there was a practical element,
Mm-hmm.
that is important. At the end of the day, if you cannot, I mean, I'm a student of communication. Mhm. Uh, People can't write a proper application, a leave application. Now, though, thankfully, Grok is there, and
Chat GPT is there.
Chat GPT is there that will prepare it. But honestly speaking, that they don't know the basic skills, basic communication skills, what
Mm,
to speak, when to speak, and when not to speak.
true. True.
That is as important as when to speak.
Yes.
You
Pauses
know.
are important. आप ही ने सिखाया था. And I was an IMC. Sir, you have always been an advocate for cultural activities. Like I remember how excited you used to be जब cultural activities IMC में भी होते थे.
Yes.
Right? You were always excited. How important are extracurricular activities like dance, music, while you're studying at school?
It really opens up.
Yes. Yes.
You see, my daughter, I always considered her to be an introvert, my elder one,
Mm-hmm.
till the time she went to the medical school.
Mm-hmm.
We always felt that she is just not. Initially, we put her in the dance school. She did not have much interest. She had some interest in music and
Mm-hmm.
all that. But then, when she started living independently in the hostel without parental protection, then she opened up. While pursuing medicine, she was leading her band. She was the vocalist of the band. She would sing Western Indian songs. She would dance. I mean, we used to look at it and, is it our daughter? I
Mm,
mean, you see, it exposes, it gives you confidence, it builds your personality,
true.
you know. So it is very important that children take part in that. In South, there is a very rich culture
Yes. Yes.
that one child at least learns music and one child learns dance.
Absolutely.
That's a very very rich tradition which we need to follow all over the country, and let us not do it only for the career point of view. I feel a little upset, Anvesha, when I see you know parents coming to dance schools and saying that वो 5% मिलता है इनको डांस कोटे में तो you are even there the objective is that admission we should get. So
Mm-hmm.
for that 5% is required, so we need that certificate to मिलेगा ना.
Hmm.
That is their entire focus, is the certificate, not the art form,
Yeah.
which liberates you, which really makes you happy. This is one vocation which can, what all tension, depression that we talk about, that can all, I mean, if you know how to sing. I remember when my daughter used to prepare for the NEET, suddenly she would explode. And
अच्छा.
then she will just get into the room, close the door, pick up her harmonium, and then she would start singing.
Hmm.
And after 1 hour, she is a changed person. She would come out of the room very calm, very, you know. So music
Yeah.
soothes your nerves. It
True.
releases all the tensions. Music plays an important role. So,
True. True. No, this is also for all the viewers who would watch this video, sir. I'm from Odisha, you know this. And when I came to Delhi, I also didn't know how to speak in Hindi, only Odia and English.
yeah,
So I was studying in Dayal Singh College, Delhi University. तो वहाँ पे Odissi dance actually helped me a lot because
yes,
I got,
absolutely.
yes, I got enrolled into the dance society, and that is where I started making friends. So
Yes,
someone who's shy, someone who's introvert, extracurricular activities also help them a lot.
yes.
True, true. So now comes your university life. So Venkateshwara College, which we call Venki, this is what we used to call at our time.
No, that used to be made fun of. It used to be
Oh,
called, because Sri Venkateshwara College, SV
right,
College.
right.
That used to be SV College meant Sambarwada College.
Oh, acha. But Venki has nothing to do with making fun, no? Because Venki used to be
No, no,
very,
Venki is short form.
yeah,
Whereas, of course, it is not Venki is the chicken vendor. This is Lord
absolutely.
Venkateshwara.
Because the fest of Venkateshwara College
Yeah,
was
yeah, Nexus.
famous. Yes.
Nexus used to be there. I don't know whether it is still called Nexus or not. I still remember those days it used to be called Nexus.
Right. So how was DU at your time?
DU was pretty active,
Okay.
and a lot of political activities were certainly there in all campuses. As a student of English literature,
Yes. Yes.
we were in a world of our own.
Mm-hmm.
We were the elite. So in a way, my peer group used to look down upon others, kind of.
Acha, acha. Were you very
English literature,
involved?
English literature के students were a world apart, a class apart. We used to just read poetry, live in a world of our own.
Yes.
It was a very idealistic world, very idealistic. Poetry, romance, we had the best of teachers. And we used to believe that, that in all the stories that we were told about love, romance, it became part of our very identity,
Right.
Is it the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless stars of Ilium? Sweet Helen, make me immortal with a kiss.
And you had full attendance in college?
Well, not
I was
exactly.
scolded by you for that.
Well, not exactly the full attendance, but yes, I was never, called out for poor attendance, but I
Okay.
had reasonably good attendance in the, yes.
Okay. In journalism, anyone from any academic field can enter into journalism, right? Whether it be someone who's a lawyer or from medical science or engineering, they can enter into journalism, make a career, and also at times they are paid better than the existing journalists. Is this approach correct? Is my question.
Well, that approach used to be there because earlier we did not have trained journalists,
Okay.
and journalism was never seen as a profession. It
Mhm.
was more a mission, a service. So, say Mahatma Gandhi was a journalist, so he was a lawyer by profession, but he also brought out. So Madan Mohan Malviya was a journalist. So you had literateurs, novelists. They all published their newspapers because there was a mission, there was an objective. The country's freedom was there before you. It was seen as a service. It was never seen. So anybody can come in.
Right.
That used to be the, and anybody with a flair for writing, a commitment to society can come, write. It was never that skilled kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Today you have technology, you need technological training and all that stuff, but that is not enough. I think that be a communicator, but I believe that as a profession, we had several rounds of meeting, even at Makhanlal when I was the vice chancellor, and including the Press Council of India had come with a delegation and had a meeting with all the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
And it was felt that, that uh, there should be a bare minimum qualification.
Right.
And particularly, maybe at the elite level, people come with a lot of, and then they are absorbed, as you rightly said, from different other streams. People come, but when we are talking about grassroots journalism at the district level, at the grassroots level, at the taluka level, without some training, how can they distinguish between the wheat and the chaff?
Okay, sir. At one point, digital media stepped in and took over print media and television media. Now there's a lot of discussion about AI. So my first question is, how will AI impact the journalism industry, the media industry? And second question is, अगर किसी को relevant रहना है for the next 5 years, what are the skills that they need to acquire in order to stay relevant? Two questions.
AI, I think I have always welcomed technology. I've
Mhm.
always said that, like you divide history into two parts, before Christ and Anno Domini. Similarly, you can divide media into two parts, BG and AG, like BC and AD,
Mm.
before Google and after Google.
Okay.
I belong to the before Google generation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you belong to the after Google generation. I don't know.
Somewhere.
Uh,
Uh,
so we are the digital migrants. You are the digital natives.
True.
You are born with that. We learned that over a period. We shifted to that. So technology is here to stay. Similarly, television, when it came, all sorts of apprehensions were raised. But finally, television is here to stay, and it has contributed immensely, positively and to some extent. So every technology will have some side effects, no doubt. When
Mm-hmm.
computers came, I remember we used to make fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
It would lead to huge job loss and stuff like that. And ultimately, it is computer skills that made us world leaders. Today, whether it is Silicon Valley or Indians are today ruling, you know,
Mm-hmm.
supreme in all these domains. So I think that AI is also something that has to be welcomed. And it has certainly brought in more efficiency. It has certainly, helped us in customizing content for our readers, uh, in breaking down big data.
Mm-hmm.
And AI has a lot of roles to play, which can really help us out. Technology will bring in some new kinds of jobs. So today, somebody who is specialized in AI, can be a good AI manager who can, who knows how to efficiently handle AI for the betterment of his institution. That can be people can be social media managers. Many new opportunities have come.
Okay.
So let us not look at it as something which is going to reduce jobs. It happens with every new technology. It deletes a few jobs and adds a few jobs. So that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
My only concern is the increasing dependency on AI. That is something worrisome. That can impact our originality. Tomorrow, then only there is a danger, real danger of AI dominating our thought process so much. We stop thinking critically, which is so human.
Mm.
Only the human being can critically think. The human intelligence is far more superior to AI. At the end of the day, AI is also a product of HI, human intelligence.
True.
So the emotions that we have, human emotions, the empathy that we have, how can AI replace that? Uh, and it has its own inherent biases because at the end of the day, its algorithms, its entire outlook is based on the data it has. And if
Mm.
the data is biased, its outcome would also be biased, right? Whereas as a human being, I can make a distinction between biased data and otherwise, you know. It can't distinguish. Uh,
Right. Right.
so I think that we should not be there has to be a human surveillance. There
Mm.
has to be a human monitoring, a human moderation, if I may use that word. You know,
True.
the technology should be moderated. About the next 5 years, I would
Mm-hmm.
say that media students would do well to be multitaskers. That is one advice I always give them.
Mm-hmm.
You should be multidimensional. You need to be multidimensional. That's number one.
Okay.
Uh, the second part is that as media students, you should have expertise in one or the other subject. That's important. You should go deep. Just a superficial understanding too.
Right.
The third, I believe, every media student should have is proficiency of language, which is because they are not no more reading literature.
Mm.
They are no more reading even newspapers and periodicals. So it's a very shallow understanding of issues coming from WhatsApp University. If I
Mm-hmm.
may use that term.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go deep into issues. It's a very shallow understanding of issues. And
Okay.
that's why, if you look at the social media, the clarion call for all out war and stuff like that, it comes.
Right. Sir, in today's time, if someone wants to study journalism, which are the top colleges, institutions, or universities that you will recommend?
That's a very dicey question.
Yeah, I'll put you in a spot.
Well, having been head of two of India's leading institutions,
Mm,
it would be unfair on my part to recommend any particular institution. But I would certainly suggest to the students
mm,
that there are a couple of factors that they should look at. One is certainly today the hallmark is NAC accreditation has
mm,
to be a very key factor,
mhm.
because NAC goes into a lot of quality assessments.
Okay.
So that is important. Two, which is very important, is the quality of the faculty.
Mm,
What kind of faculty? Go into the faculty profiles,
mhm,
which is very important. The third factor, which I emphasize, is the course content. You know, will it prepare you for the roles that you envision for yourself? That is something that a student should look at. Four, very important, is the placement.
mm.
How is the placement of that particular institution? That is very important. Because at the end of the day, certainly you are studying, and one of the objectives of that is to get a good placement. So the placement is certainly important.
Yeah.
And certainly, last but not the least, are the extracurricular activities, the exposure that you get, the internship opportunities that you get, and all that stuff. That certainly, and the facilities which are available, the
Right.
studios, the equipment that you have. You should discreetly inquire. Don't get carried away by hype, because
Mm.
today a lot of people are getting into rankings and private rankings, and don't go by that. Do your own research, and it should start, almost a year in advance. If you are in 12th standard, start doing the research right away. If you're planning for a uh, joining a course next year, you should start your homework today. That's important, because unless these 4 5 factors are taken care of, you can't make a very enlightened decision. Just your peer pressure should not, because institutions change over a period of time. Just because they were good 10 years back doesn't mean that they are good today. You know,
Right.
you have to look into several factors.
So
So,
don't rank the colleges or universities, but just best five, just to make it easier for students who want to get into the career of journalism, who want to study journalism. We don't have to rank them, just best five uh, institutions, colleges, universities that you will recommend.
well, it is a very difficult thing. There are very good colleges, and so I won't call the best five. I will say they are good
Ah, okay.
institutions that come up immediately in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
which I can mention. Certainly, I would mention the Indian Institute of Mass Communication. IIMC is certainly there.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, particularly for those who are pursuing in Hindi, I would say the Makhanlal Chaturvedi University.
Okay.
For those pursuing in particularly in Hindi,
Mm-hmm.
it is a good option. Then, of course, you have Symbiosis is a good option. Uh, you know, uh, is a good option. You have again down south. You have Manipal is a good option.
Okay.
You have Manipal is a good option. Then
Asian college.
the Asian College is a good option.
Okay.
Uh, Symbiosis is a good option. Um, Times is a good option.
Okay.
Times School, and even India Today Media Institute gives practical hands-on training,
Mm.
and absorption placement is good because they get absorbed. Almost 100% absorption is there. So they also have but primarily, mostly taught by India Today faculty only. India Today But they are mostly diploma courses. They are not degree programs. They are diploma. They don't have a university degree, say, unlike that Times School or something like that. But as I said, that the student should look at his or her priorities. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody doing Odia journalism, well, certainly I would say Dhenkanal campus is
Mm,
certainly good. You
mm.
know, IIMC better than even other media schools in Odisha, because
Yes,
this is a dedicated course in Odia journalism, right?
absolutely true.
So there are every college has its own strengths
Mm-hmm.
and shortcomings.
True.
So you need to look at that. That what is the profile? If you are intending to work in Delhi, then it is better to go for a Delhi-based institution. Otherwise, it is a little difficult. Not that students from other states don't get an opportunity in
Mm.
Delhi, they do. But then the first priority is always given to, Delhi-based media institutions prefer Delhi-based media. They don't go for placements much to other states. You
Right,
know,
right.
so if you're planning to work in a national media house from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
then you should look for a Delhi-based media institution rather than so these are, as I said, priorities and your preferences that also matters.
Right. Sir, we spoke about the colleges, but there are some important careers or careers that people are not aware of after they have completed their studies in journalism. So, would you like to talk about some of the innovative careers that the
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that a lot of students even now come, kind of motivated by or inspired by anchor-driven channels or even some reporters. But
Hmm.
not everybody becomes a reporter or anchor, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So one has to be very clear that there are lot many job profiles you should be
Right.
ready for. If
Right.
you Because otherwise disillusionment sets in, which is not good for you.
Absolutely.
If you are interested in a job in media, that should be the objective rather than becoming. If you become an anchor, well and good.
Mm-hmm.
But then everybody cannot become an anchor.
Right.
Everybody cannot become a reporter. So desk is very strong, research is very strong, social media is very strong, today. Hmm. So, or the digital part is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to look at all these aspects, that I am ready to work in any of these disciplines. If you are only focused only on anchoring, honestly speaking, everybody doesn't really get it. You need to be really good, plus you have to be cut out for it, plus you have to be lucky. So all three
Mm.
factors.
True, true. So,
Hmm.
like a journalist, I mean, someone who has actually studied journalism, like me, can also get into the field of PR or communications.
Yes, certainly
Right.
yes. But for that, I would strongly recommend that if you are interested in public relation right from the beginning, then to go for a dedicated course.
Okay.
Wherever you have so IIMC has, MCU has, all these people have their own courses dedicated. Because then that gives you the basic understanding of the profession. Otherwise, you are cut out to be a journalist,
Mm-hmm.
but then you become there are many journalists who are today heading, I had my own batchmates, my own friends who worked in journalism for a long time and then shifted to, public relations. But I would say that if that is your domain, that is where you want to go in public relation, in advertising, then go from the word go. Or the option is that go for a mass communication course.
Okay.
Mass communication includes, a BAMC or a BJMC, a Bachelor of Journalism and Mass Communication, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which includes mass communication, obviously has not just journalism, it has public relation, it has advertising, it has cinema studies. It's a combination of all streams. So go
Right.
for a mass communication course rather than a pure journalism course,
Mm.
because then you will have to unlearn many things in the industry and learn anew. Whereas here you are trained that way, and you get in your internships also that way.
Okay. So, what about we were talking about social media? What about social media journalism? Like there are a lot of students who have a good follower base. And is it like a parameter when they join any media industry? Does this influence their placement because they have?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Good media houses look at the social media profiles of the candidates.
Okay.
And in fact, your chances of placement is better if you're a blogger, if you're a, whether it's a travel blog or a food blog or a sports blog, whatever, your chances are better. Um, and if you're a YouTuber, that's also looked at, and your content is also studied. Certainly, I mean, and you get a good of opportunity. I mean, you look at technical guru, as somebody like, for an example, TG.
Mm,
Now, once you become an expert in a particular domain, then you are in television channels give you slots, for their own tech programs. So why you are a YouTuber, and then you get an opportunity to host your own program on television.
mm,
So I think that certainly, today your social media profile, I tell my students that I'm sometimes surprised. I said that don't put just your selfies and all that. Put good content, because
mm.
when they scan that before calling you for an interview, or so you should have solid content and some in-depth stories and some real, which make it so that you are not just your selfies and your photographs and your, so that is important.
Okay. So also tell us about a few important fellowships. If someone wants to study further, they don't want to get into a job after journalism, they want to study further. तो ऐसे कौन से fellowships हैं in India, also abroad, globally?
Well, you see, earlier though we used to have, say, I don't know, honestly speaking, there are, of course, many universities abroad,
Mm-hmm.
including Columbia School of Journalism, which offer fellowship. Many universities in the Ivy League also offer fellowship, but some are fully paid, some are part paid, some are, kind of they just take care of the tuition fee, the rest you have to pay. So there are all kinds of fellowships are there, so you need to explore that.
Okay.
That is very important. So you have USFE, US Educational Foundation in India, which has a lot of, you can visit their office in Connaught Place, and they have a lot of these fellowships which are offered.
Okay.
Then, of course, there are Reuters, Thomson Reuters. Reuters offers fellowships. There are, of course, for senior journalists, there are Fulbright scholarships are there. There are British evening scholarships are there, which are offered for mid-career journalists and all that. So you have scholarships which are there, but in India, by and large, in India, there are not many scholarships which are available to apart from the government scholarship for which are for those who have reservation facilities. You know, so except for them, there are no, and some economically, for example, during my tenure, as director general, I encouraged the IIMC Alumni Association to start scholarships, and for a few years, they actually offered about 25,000 rupees
Yeah.
to students who do not otherwise qualify for or are eligible for other scholarships. The reservation policy, as per the reservation policy, they started on my suggestion, but of late again they are planning to revive. That's what they told me recently when I asked them what happened. So there are similar initiatives, but no popular as such scholarships which are there within the country, which are there to encourage journalism studies.
Right. And sir, if someone today has completed their course in journalism, what is the salary that they can expect? Like those typical salary bracket that they can
Hmm.
expect? And this also brings me to another question, sir. Tell me why journalists are underpaid. Like,
Uh,
long working hours.
I think number one is that so far as the salaries are concerned,
Hmm.
I'm sorry to say that even at some leading institutions, I really had to fight. I said that this is the minimum benchmark. Say at IIMC also, some leading newspapers came, and when I asked them what is the payment, it was below even the what a normal a driver would get. I used to be really upset with that. I said, you are paying an intellectual, the fourth estate. You know,
Right.
but unfortunately, salaries in the media uh, were not very good. But now certainly the trend has changed.
Hmm.
But even now, I would say that if you want to come into media, you will get everything, the name, the fame. But majority of the employees are, still in that middle income bracket. Very few, only a handful, if I may say so, are highly paid.
Hmm.
Unlike many other professions from IIMs and IITs who are highly paid, we cannot even imagine the kind of payments that these people get.
Absolutely.
So a very good payment would be in a very digital kind of a. It's digital is paying well now.
Hmm.
Earlier television used to pay well. Now digital is paying well. So I won't be surprised. I have seen people being picked up. So up to even 1 lakh per month. Some really good digital are offering. But print media, it is very less and much lesser in language media. It is much lesser. Uh, Television is moderate. So it's roughly in the range of 35 to 50,000, per month that you can expect. And your asked second question as to why it is less, because as I said in the history that it was mostly a mission. There
Hmm.
was never the salary component was never there. A lot of people gave their everything to be in media. They even Gandhiji used to say that that there should not be any advertisements in the media because then they will tend to influence us, and that's what exactly happened also.
Right.
So he was against even so this was always seen as a mission.
Hmm.
There was this advertisement in one of the papers which is widely cited during the freedom struggle that you will get two rotis and plus a term, a sentence in jail. That is what we can offer you as a salary. So so that used to be the struggle. So it comes from that background. It was never seen as a very, though today most of the media houses are extensions of business houses or are themselves business houses. The underpaid journalist is the common norm, you know. It is a handful of, but then some are extensively paid. I mean, imagine Sudhir Chaudhary is, Doordarshan is paying him a whopping 16 crores per annum. So,
Really?
so,
Wow.
so you also have that experience, and some are anchor-driven channels. The anchors are paid like anything. So, but then to get into that slot at the initial stages is not something that is,
Who
you
is
know.
highest paid?
Now, right now, though, I think it is Sudhir Chaudhary. I don't
Oh.
think any other journalist is paid. I mean, 16 crore per annum is something
Hmm.
huge. And
Right.
for good anchors, highly paid anchors, 7 to 15 lakhs is the common norm. No, no big deal. But then, as I said, that you can say maybe there will be 20 such anchors.
Hmm.
And we
Handful
are
of them.
looking at staggering statistics of thousands of students being churned out every year by media schools. But yes, generally the medium level is about, as I said, the beginning is 35 to 50,000, and then
Okay.
it gradually goes up. And then
Okay.
a couple of years, then it crosses, say, 1 lakh. Then gradually, as you grow in your career, in your profession, it goes up. It is.
So we have spoken about universities. We have spoken about courses. Now tell me which are the best media houses that one can
Oh
apply
man. Again, Anvesha, these are uh, there cannot be an objective,
Uh,
assessment of this. It depends on what you are looking at. If you are looking at, say, if you say that, I need to be opposing the government on, this, maybe somehow some media house which will offer you good payment, good paymaster will not allow you that freedom. You know?
hmm, hmm.
So it is, these are very subjective. These cannot be an objective thing that this is the best media house. You know, it depends
Like a
on
mix,
what kind of.
like
So
like a mix.
if you have a particular ideology,
Hmm,
to espouse, then you have certain newspapers and brands which espouse a certain ideology. But if you feel that, so it is very difficult to rate. I mean, some are good at paymasters, some are good in terms of. I remember, there are many, at that time, Times of India journalists, my friends used to crib, that it is the marketing team which decides how much space you get, because there is so much of advertisement, and they
hmm,
wanted to write.
hmm,
Whereas in Hindu, it was the opposite, because there used to be so much of space,
hmm,
there
hmm.
used to be less of advertisements, so they would say that use as much space to write. So it depends, on, there used to be media houses which used to pay the wage board, fixed by the government, but there
Okay.
used to be media houses which used to have big name but never used to implement the wage board. you know so that way, though, you cannot, uh,
Categorize.
but are we talking about, say, journalism per se, who is following? Then everybody has their own interpretation of journalism, na? So
Hmm.
some say that anybody who protects national interests is the real media, So for them, the newspapers are different. Some people who say that no, 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 any paper which criticizes the government of the day is the real journalism. For them, it is a different newspaper. So there cannot be an objective of which is the best media house. There are media houses where, the print media is, maintains a neutral stance, whereas the electronic media is blatantly one-sided. Their handles are so. You cannot have an objective assessment of which is the best media.
Okay.
It is a very subjective issue.
Okay. Let me
But
just.
at least in terms of media schools, you can have
Huh.
certain criteria, as I told you, the five criteria: the faculty, the facilities, uh, the course content, the placements. So there are 4 5 criteria based on which you can assess the media schools. But
Right.
here you cannot have any such criteria.
Okay.
Everybody does not fulfill all the criteria. Okay,
Right.
if somebody with a nationalist bent of mind,
Hmm.
you know, totally say, who has a, tilt towards, say, the right,
Hmm.
he or she won't find the Hindu a comfortable place to work. You know,
Right.
somebody with a leftist bent of mind,
Hmm.
say, would not find the Pioneer, or the Times of India a very appropriate place to work.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Somebody is interested in investigative stories. For them, maybe Indian Express offers a good option,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
still investigative reporting is being done. you know
Right.
so again, some papers, Times of India, when it comes to lifestyle journalism, nothing to beat Times of India.
True.
you know uh, if you want to work in a Delhi centric paper, then nothing to beat the Hindustan Times.
Hmm.
Mm. So it depends on the priority of the journalist also, that
Absolutely.
what is his priority, what are his preferences, his or her preferences.
So we are speaking about students here. Are the students of this generation serious about education? Because earlier we used to get educated in order to get a job. Now they all are social media influencers. They're earning from social media. So are they serious about their education?
Uh, If you are looking at classroom education, then no.
Okay.
The attention spans have come down.
Mm-hmm.
The class attendance is a big, major concern among all universities. Even universities where their parents are paying through the nose. The management tells me that, there's hardly any interest.
True.
If there are events, I attend all these annual day programs and all that. I'm invited as chief guest. So the
Mm-hmm.
teachers tell me that, sir, this is the time when you will see all the child. Some children, we come to know that they were studying in this college only on the annual day. We see them for the first time there. So they bunk all through.
I kept
So
a straight face because I
so
was,
you know so this is, no, you are not that bad a student, you
no, sir, I was
were.
a good. No, no, I was a good
So
student, sir.
yes, you were. So
Just that my
but
attendance was a bit low.
yeah, yeah. So but you, whichever class you used to attend, you used to attend it seriously, at least my classes whenever you used to
Yes,
come.
yeah.
So Anvesha, what is so student attendance is certainly, classroom teaching was on the lower side. But students are learning, no doubt. The knowledge levels, thanks to social media, digital media, they are getting a lot of exposure, no doubt. But what is missing is the in-depth understanding of issues. They have a superficial idea of things. But the in-depth understanding, not to say that all students are like that, there are exceptions. But it is the rule. There's always an exception. But the general rule is that they are superficial in their understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And, their real reading has gone down. They are more into superficial understanding of issues. They get carried away. They get polarized easily. They get
Okay.
carried away, and uh, they are into a lot of activism rather than
Okay.
journalism.
Sir, even today, journalism is considered as a very unconventional career. आपके टाइम पे तो it must be like और ज़्यादा unconventional. So
Yes,
when,
I faced a lot of opposition from within
yes,
my
yes.
family.
What was their first reaction when you broke the news that you want to get into journalism?
They opposed it.
Opposed it?
Yeah. For a few, I mean, I somehow under pressure, I had to join a government organization,
Okay.
but I just could not survive that. I put in my papers. I just was not comfortable. And when I put in my papers, I was literally thrown out of my house.
Oh.
Yes, I had to face. I was accepted later on, but
Hmm.
when they realized that this guy is not coming, I mean, he's not going to go back. I mean, for them, you see, I am not blaming them.
Mm-hmm.
Middle class parents looked for stability, job stability. Their concern was that, journalism doesn't have a stability. What will happen if he loses his job? If he gets into government job, he will retire at 65. He will have a decent pension throughout his life, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Okay, okay. So this brings me to the last question. Not the end of the episode, because we have a very interesting segment after this. Just the last question. They say that it gets lonely at the top. Like with so much of achievements that you have gathered in your lifetime, all the accolades that you have got in your lifetime, does it get lonely at the top, sir? Does it become difficult to maintain relationships? Like we know in journalism, there are also different set of ideologies that we have also spoken about. Does it become difficult to maintain relationships?
Honestly speaking, for me, interpersonal relations I have always maintained them. So
Acha.
I have friends across the spectrum,
Okay. How do you
you
do
know,
that?
that because I have never allowed my ideology or my outlook towards any issue
Hmm.
to dominate my personal equations. You know, my
Hmm.
personal equations have always, I am what I am. My friends also know that, and they accept me. And I have never shown any contempt for I respect their views. We are in a democracy. And unless they are, say, if they're against the government of the day, or if they're against a particular political party, I have no issues. My
Hmm.
issue would be if they are against the country, you know,
True.
um, then I have a problem. But I don't have, thankfully, such people who are against the country in my group. There are so I respect they have a viewpoint. Fine. As I told you, it's all about perspectives,
Right. Right.
and that is fine. But yes, coming to your question about being lonely at the top, certainly yes. When you are at the top, there are a lot of factors. One is that certainly, you cannot share everything with everyone. You are in critical positions, you cannot. Uh,
Right.
Second, that, uh, a lot many people expect a lot many obligations from you, which is not practical, you know,
Hmm.
that you can't oblige everybody. You know. Thirdly, you can't please everyone also,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
because you have to take decisions which may be a little unpopular. I
Right.
have taken such decisions, whether at IIMC or MCU, and which have turned friends into foes. You know,
Yeah.
we were good friends, and then because of the decisions I have taken, they turned against me. And But then I have to, as an administrator, I have to, take decisions. And I stand by my decisions because they were well thought out decisions, not, rash and, kind of
Correct.
spontaneous,
Yeah.
irresponsible decisions. I had to take it in the larger interest of the institution. I had to take certain decisions. That certainly annoyed some people. They were expecting friendship to be, you know, to be the critical factor. That because you are my friend, you won't, you know. For me, institutional discipline and all those things were there. Which,
Hmm.
as head of the institution, you have a lot of responsibilities.
Of course.
So, but then I have a handful of friends who love me for what I am. They are my well wishers,
Hmm.
and they know my intent is not bad. And I am essentially a very honest and transparent person, and so they respect me also, and they don't have expectations from me.
Hmm.
And they are, they don't love my chair. uh, they don't love DG, they love KG, you know.
That's a good one. So this is a wrap, sir. Now, this brings me to the most interesting segment of the episode, which is the rapid fire round. So you know what a rapid fire round is. I'll ask you these volley of questions, and whatever first comes to your mind, you need to respond with that. Shall we start, sir? Okay, okay. Print, TV, digital, your first love.
Print.
Okay. Journalism or academics?
Journalism.
Okay. What's tougher, managing students or managing journalists?
Managing students.
Okay. One thing today's journalists must unlearn, forget, unlearn.
That they don't form governments, or they don't you know make governments fall. It is the people who do that.
Okay. IIMC or Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of
Both.
Journalism? No, one. You have to pick one. What would it be if you have to pick one?
Difficult, but
Okay, I won't put you on a spot.
yes.
Rajdeep Sardesai or Arnab Goswami? Acha, who's your
Pass.
favorite? Who's your favorite journalist? Favorite and favorite?
Everybody has plus and minus points.
Okay, okay. One word for social media journalism.
Need for more responsibility.
One word for your trolls. for it, for your trolls who troll you?
You're wasting your time.
Okay. One book that you would recommend to someone who wants to become a journalist. One book.
The Press in India by C. Chalpati Rao.
Mhm. Favorite
Mhm.
song. And you are a good singer, so I'm going to ask you
Oh God.
one. No one has seen this side of yours. So I wanted to ask you this question.
मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया, हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला गया.
Perfect. That brings us to the end of the episode, sir. Now, how many languages you can speak, sir?
Well, fluently, certainly English, Hindi, and Malayalam.
Okay. Okay.
I can speak a smattering of Tamil, a smattering of Telugu, a
Okay.
smattering of Punjabi, a smattering of Haryanvi,
Okay.
and a little bit of Odia.
Okay. Sir, एक छोटा सा favor. If you had to say like, share, subscribe in, you say your favorite language, Telugu,
Oh God.
Odia. You can also mix, but if you have to say, if you like the content, please like, share, subscribe. That's the only thing.
I don't know the apt words for subscribe. Then I would
You
prefer
can
to
use
speak in.
English, like, share, subscribe, but what would be the sentence? Like in Odia we say na, kahaku jodi a content bhal lage, then like karantu, subscribe karantu, share karantu.
ഈ പരിപാടി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടാൽ നിങ്ങൾ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഇതിനെ ലൈക്ക് ചെയ്യണം, ഷെയർ ചെയ്യണം, സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യണം.
Wow, wow. And also,
That's my mother tongue.
thank you so much, sir.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, like we discussed in the beginning, this podcast is for the students, the parents. So if you have any challenges, any concerns, please share it in the comment box because we are here to address. Till then, everyone, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. Till then, this is your host, Anvesha, signing off from TEDucate, your go-to podcast for navigating higher education like a pro.